In The Salesman, everyone knows something happened, but no one wants to talk about it. Hi, I'm Kian, and this is Every Film's Made Twice. I am Iranian and like Iranian films. In this video, I wanna talk about The Salesman. The Salesman is about a young couple called Emad and Rana. Both of them are theater actors. Emad also is a teacher and teaches literature in high school. Their romantic relationship has become cold as a result of an unpleasant incident. Each of them encounters that incident in a different way. Rana wants to forget, but Emad seeks revenge. Film has a devastating opening scene. The window glass is cracking, and a man is shouting, "Evacuate your home. The building may collapse at any moment." This unstable building is the beginning of an unstable relationship. Asghar Farhadi has included two stories in his story. 1. The Car, written by Ghulam Hussain Saidi. 2. Death of a Salesman, written by Arthur Miller. At first, I'm going to take a look at The Car. The Car is the fourth story of the book The Mourners of the Bayal, which includes 8 stories. Bayal is an imaginary village Saidi has created for the setting of his story. Ghulam Hussain Saidi, Iranian psychiatric and writer, has written The Mourners of the Bayal in 1964. His stories allude to the villagers' life and their hardship, misery and poverty. He has located mysterious, enigmatic and illusory elements in the stories. The Car is about a villager called Mashhasan who loves his car to the point of madness. He grazes it every day. In the pond near the village, washes it patiently, and even sleeps in the barn some nights so that nothing unpleasant happens to his car. Sad to say, this lovely car is found dead in the barn. When Mashhasan realizes cannot enjoy, he gradually presumes himself to be a car, lowing and chewing grass. Other villagers advise him frequently, but he responds angrily, "I'm not Mashhasan, I'm the Mashhasan's car." Efforts to cure him are insufficient. Then they decide to take him to the city for better treatment. On the way, he escapes and falls into a valley and dies. This story directly alludes to self-alienation, one of the most prominent sociological and psychological phenomena. In 1969, Iranian director Dariush Meherji made the film Car based on the story of Ghulam Hussain Saidi. The film was praised by foreign festivals. He has received awards from the Venice International Film Festival and the Berlin International Film Festival. This film has rich, sweet and melodic music. The music is one of the best works of the contemporary Iranian composer Hormuz Farhat, who died recently, 16 August 2021 in Dublin, Ireland. In general, The Car is one of the first Iranian films which has received foreign awards and therefore has remained in the collective memory of the Iranian people. Asghar Farhadi uses this story appropriately in his film. The Car story is in one of the high school literature books, which is read in the film by a student in a scene where Emad is in the classroom. A scene teacher and students are talking together. After reading the Car story, the students ask Emad some questions. One student asks, "How can a man turn into a car?" And Emad answers, "Gradually." Here Farhadi reveals his story to some extent in order to give us an understanding of what is in his mind. A hard-working teacher and a talented artist, after an unpleasant incident, gradually becomes a violent and vindictive character. It's worth mentioning that he doesn't become a villain and only becomes irrational as much as a car. Before the intruder came to the bathroom, Emad was a kind, calm and moral man. In particular, he respected the privacy of individuals. Even when Babak asked him to vacate the room where the previous tenant had left her belongings, Emad initially objected and said, "There are lots of personal belongings." Then, when they put the belongings on the trays and it rained at night, Emad immediately brought inside some of her furniture so that it would not get wet. But after what happens to his wife, he loses his own control. This is the part which the Ka movie is shown in the class. Exactly the part that Masha-san has turned into a Ka. Emad is taking a nap and one of the students is filming him. After waking up, he punishes the student. He takes the mobile phone from him, checks the photos of the phone, without respecting the privacy anymore. And then he threatens him to show the pictures to his father. Not only does he violate the student's privacy, but he also wants to discredit him. In other words, Emad intends to take revenge on him in some way. Note that when the light turns off again, the law of a Ka is heard. Let's go to the second play Asghar Farhadi mentions in his film, The Death of a Salesman. Arthur Miller wrote the play Death of a Salesman in 1949, and with the characterization of Willy Loman actually criticized the American dream. The story of a salesman who was successful in his youth, but with the onset of old age, his ability has diminished. He cannot work like before. He has no savings for himself and his family. He feels all his efforts are wasted. He suffers from dementia and sometimes remembers his memories and talks to imaginary characters. His wife Linda always comforts him, but it has no effect. His two sons, Biff and Happy, are also unsuccessful. His eldest son, Biff, always appreciated his father for his hard work, but one night when he went to see his father, he saw him alone with another woman. Biff no longer forgave his father and saw him no longer as a hero, but as a traitor. After a while, Willy is fired and the situation becomes more difficult for him and his family. He constantly compares himself to his old friend Charlie, who is now rich and blames himself. Willy always thought that with hard work he could achieve wealth and happiness, but now he sees that he has not achieved any of his dreams. Eventually he commits suicide in a fake accident so his family can use his life insurance. At the time of writing, Arthur Miller never thought that a film called The Salesman would be made in Iran 70 years later. But what does the play of Death of a Salesman have to say in the heart of Farhadi's story? Only the playing of Emad and Rana in the role of Willy and Linda connects the two stories, or there is a deeper resemblance than this. In The Salesman, real life blends into the play. Regarding the similarity of the two scripts, the following can be enumerated. 1. There is a contempt in both. Notice one of the parts of the play that Willy says in despair, "They just pass me by, I'm not noticed." And also the scene where Biff finds out that his father is in a relationship with a prostitute, which changes Biff's view of his father. After that, Biff no longer shows kindness to Willy and humiliates him even in the family. In the last argument they had, Biff tells Willy furiously, "Pop, I'm a dime a dozen and so are you." Linda is humiliated too. When she praises her husband and doesn't know he's in a relationship with another woman. She's humiliated and does not know that she's being humiliated. Biff also didn't know that his father has betrayed her mother until he saw a woman in the bathroom of his father's room. Worst of all, Willy gave the prostitute the stockings Linda had woven. On the other hand, in the film we face humiliation too. When the intruder goes to the bathroom, he humiliates both Rana and more severely Emad. The climax of humiliation occurs in the last part of the film, when Emad wants the intruder's family to come and humiliate the intruder in front of his family. 2. The Death of a Salesman shows that the American dream is an empty slogan. Despite a lot of effort, money cannot be achieved, and it is impossible to provide a good life for everyone. On the other hand, the Salesman movie also shows that there is no Iranian decency, chastity, and purity, and it is only superficial. If we can call a society in which the privacy of men and women is respected the Iranian dream, then the Iranian dream is also an empty slogan. The scene of the presence of a prostitute in Willy's room is reminiscent of the prostitution of the previous tenant of Emad and Rana's house. More notably, the prostitute of the death of a salesman comes out of the bathroom, and in the film the crime scene is the bathroom. Although the scenes of crime, bloodshed, and a man attacking a woman in the bathroom may have started from Psycho movie directed by Hitchcock, the part where Norman attacks Marion, played by Janet Leigh, who is taking a shower, and stabs her. But to be fair, the work of none of them was as difficult as Farhadi's work, because he could not show the scene in details. 3. Stockings. When the theater prostitute asks for a pair of size 9 stockings, Willie reluctantly gives it to her. When Emad finds the intruder's socks by the bed, when Rana is mending stockings on the play and suddenly remembers the intruder's lock, and finally the socks are somehow decoded, and Emad finds out about the identity of the intruder by taking off the old man's socks. It seems that the theater show has found its way to the real world and leaves its mark alongside the sequences. 4. Remember a scene where a prostitute starts laughing in the bathroom of Willie's room and then comes out and says several times, "I can go out naked in the hall." This scene can be evoked in Rano's question to Emad and her sensitivity about which of the neighbors took her out of the bathroom. Psychologically, being seen naked is an intensive fear of humans. Maybe not all humans, but those living in societies that have strict rules for controlling gender relations have this fear. Rano is annoyed because she was seen naked. The point to be made here is that there was no rape. The stranger entered the bathroom and approached Rana and even stroked her hair from behind. Rana realized the presence of a stranger man, started shouting, and the man ran away. This can be understood from what Emad said to the intruder after he was cut. "If my wife hadn't flung herself at the glass in fear, what would you have done to her, Buster?" 5. A scene from the play where the prostitute, played by Sanam, comes off stage and her child asks her to let him go to Rano's house. Notice her nervous, evil, and reveling laughter off stage. In doing so, she reveals her presence to Willie's son. It's a sign of the presence of an unseen prostitute who was the previous tenant of Emad and Rano's house. We only know that her name is Ahu, which means deer in Persian, and that she has a child who is probably almost the same age as the child of the theater prostitute. We never see her, but she seems to be happy with what happened and laughs, because Emad and Rana, at Babak's instigation of course, threw out his furniture. Is it possible that the prostitute is responsible for the unpleasant incident occurred? However, this film is more tied to the play than any other film by Asghar Farhadi. It seems that play and the real life that goes on in the film complete each other. Emad and Rana do not even clean their makeup. They clean it too late. The moral angle of the story is bold. The angle that Asghar Farhadi says he pays more attention to it. Emad changes from a hard-working good teacher and a capable actor to one who cannot forget that his wife has been harassed and wants revenge in any way. Worst of all, he seeks the collapse of the old man's family. Emad is an actor trying to understand Willie Loman, put himself in his shoes, sympathize with him. But when at the end of the film Willie in the real world is found, he can't get along with him. In Farhadi's story, Willie Loman is the old man who has lived with his wife for 35 years, exactly as Willie and Linda lived together, and betrayed his wife like Willie, but his wife doesn't know and still loves him. She's just like Linda. The old man is a salesman who sells clothes on the street in the evenings, and it is clear from his appearance that he has not been successful in his work. This is not a political film, but there are bold streaks of political theme in it. The most important political word of the film is to deal realistically with Iranian decency, a society in which women superficially have to cover their hair, has secret sex outside of defined and formal rules. What is going on behind the appearances of the city? A woman feels uncomfortable sitting in the back of a taxi next to a man, Emad, and asks the driver to sit in front. The child wants Rana to stand outside when he goes to the bathroom. After these superficial respects, Farhadi puts us in a difficult position. An old man whose wife loves him very much. His daughter and his new son-in-law have a lot of respect for him, but the old man himself has a secret relationship with another woman. Even when he realizes that Ahu has left the house, according to his own confession, he is tempted to see Rana's naked body. The strict rules of gender relations have created a society that has transferred tension to the inner layers, which may emerge at any moment and turns into a crisis. Farhadi's other political word is censorship. Consider these three. 1. The first part of the film in which Willy Loman and his son Biff are talking. The prostitute comes out of the bathroom and says several times, "I can go out naked in the hall. I've got to get dressed." Then Siavash, who plays Biff, laughs and Sanam, who plays a prostitute, gets upset. Siavash says ironically she comes out in a raincoat and says, "I can't go out without clothes." A hint of the dress code in Iranian cinema. 2. When the director of the play asks Emad to stay after the play to talk to those who go there tonight. The director is afraid that 3 passages may be censored. Even she says in response to Emad, the show risks a suspension. A hint of the culture and Islamic Guidance Ministry's supervision of theater and cinema performances in Iran. 3. When Emad brings the books to the students and Mr. Yegane, probably the school principal, believes that they are not appropriate for students and does not allow them to read the books. Paradoxically, a few minutes later, we find out that one of the students has pictures on his phone that are considered inappropriate according to Iranian culture. A hint of the censorship in the schools and its uselessness. And Farhadi's third political word is about the inappropriate adjudicating process of sexual crimes in Iran. Abuses, harassments, and sexual offenses in general are often hidden. The victim is ashamed to expose them. If it is exposed, it is difficult to prove. Even if it is proven, there is no preventive punishment. This process, however, also disgraces the victim, because in the eyes of others, the victim has also fault. In their view, the victim has provoked the intruder and should not behave in a way that tempts others. In The Salesman, for example, Rana should not have opened the door without asking. This may make the defendant's crime lighter, the point that Rana and Emad's neighbor also said. Before we reach the end of the film and the climax of the story, let us return to the scene of the teacher and the student's conversation. There are 2 jokes in this scene that I should mention, because it is related to Iranian culture. 1. When Emad says, "Who has read it?" and the students answer, "Enemy." Then all of the students laugh. As far as I could see, the word enemy was not translated in the English subtitles. However, this is an Iranian slogan that was originally like this. Someone asks, "Who is tired?" and a crowd responds, "Enemy." It was mostly used in popular gatherings during the early years of the 1979 Iranian Revolution. The revolutionary people of Iran are involved in the war with Iraq, and many buildings are destroyed and the economy is paralyzed. They had to deal with all kinds of problems. In this atmosphere, this slogan was said in public gatherings as a sign that the Iranians were not tired of the war, to give morale to the people or to disappoint the enemy, Iraq. In the years after the war, the slogan becomes somewhat ridiculous. Many times in response to "Who is sick?", "Who is afraid?", "Who has seen?", "Who has read?", they say enemy. 2. When one of the students gets up and says, "Why do Iranians call BMW BMW?" It refers to the difference in pronunciation of BMW in German and English. There is a lot of discussion in schools like this. The second language taught in Iran is English. For this reason, some people think we should pronounce BMW in English, but the majority of Iranians pronounce it in German. Let's go to the end of the movie, where Emad, Rana and the intruder gather in the previous house of Emad and Rana, which is collapsing. The court for punishing the intruder. Rana as victim, the old man as defendant, and Emad is probably a judge. Emad wants the old man's family to come and discredit him before them. Rana opposes and asks Emad to release him, but Emad tells her, "Do not interfere." The old man says at first that he did not enter the bathroom, but when Rana arrives, he says he was tempted. In the end, it is not clear what happened to the old man. It's not clear that they will succeed in reviving him or not. And if he is dead, will Rana forgive Emad or not? But Farhadi's story ends here. We forget the old man as Rana passes by the ambulance and ask ourselves, what would we do if we were Emad? And the question that Farhadi himself has always been interested in, can we empathize with the old man? Farhadi had said sometime that in my films I deal with the concept of empathy, and I want only one word to be written on my grave: empathy. The final sequence of the lifeless faces of Emad and Rana is being made up as if they want to re-enter their role. Conclusion: if someone buzzes your apartment, ask who he is, especially if you are taking a bath.